Hello. Today we will review the Playa Cayo Santa Maria tropical resort. We will try to address the many aspects of your vacation there. We will discuss and show you the amazing, the good, and the few bad things you should expect should you decide to spend your holiday there. The purpose of this video is to help you make your choice, and once you do, to get you prepared for your experience. And after all, to help you enjoy your vacation, concentrating on the nice experiences the place has to offer and successfully avoiding any potential disappointments. So stick with us, we promise you'll learn something new today. Playa Cayo Santa Maria is located on the small island of, well, you guessed it, Cayo Santa Maria, which is situated off the northern coast of Cuba. The nearest airport is the one in the city of Santa Clara, and this is very likely the place where you will land. And here comes the first warning. Santa Clara is 109 kilometers away from your resort, which means that once you clear through customs, you will have to enjoy, or survive, depending on your point of view, an approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes bus ride before you could lean on the reception desk and ask for your room keys. Now, I have heard many tourists complain about this ride. However, I personally believe this could be an enjoyable experience. The shuttle buses provided by the resorts are relatively comfortable, and the road will take you through a number of small villages and towns, so you will get a chance to get acquainted with the Cuban countryside. Nevertheless, if you travel with fussy kids or a baby, make sure you're prepared with additional entertainment, so that the ride does not leave a bad memory. Once at the resort, you will have to register and get your room keys. The lobby area is neat and spacious, and if you're lucky, you might actually be able to get a drink from the constantly crowded lobby bar, something that I'll talk to you about a bit later, and will also mention how to avoid the problem. I would like to mention a few words about the so-called orientation sessions offered by the tour agencies. In my personal experience, these orientation sessions do not describe anything more than the obvious, so I learned to think of them simply as a waste of my vacation time. To put it shortly, if this is your first visit to Cuba, be my guest. Go, spend an hour or two inside the conference room instead of the beach. If you have been through this once though, better get yourself oriented towards the ocean. Now, where do we start the review of a tropical beachfront resort? I say we start with the beach. Playa Cayo Santa Maria has one of the best beaches in Cuba. And when I say beach, I specifically refer to the water. I'm sure you have previously stared at those photoshopped images of tropical beaches and dreamed about this fake turquoise watercolor. Here at Playa Cayo Santa Maria, you will get that kind of ocean water without any computer post-processing. I am not sure about the physical factors that contribute to this, but in calm weather, you will be really amazed by the color and the clarity of the ocean water. The sandbank, though, is not as wide as your dreams would demand, and there is a scarcity of, let's say, palm trees or any vegetation that explicitly says tropical location. But nevertheless, the beach is really, really good. Now here is an important word of caution. The beach is also dramatically short of shade. There are just a few palapas, and that's it. Shade is not enough even for 10% of the people at the resort. Considering the intensity of the unforgiving tropical sun, you might actually get in real trouble because of this. Also, from a social point of view, the resulting competition for a spot in the shades tends to bring out the worst of your fellow tourists, and sometimes even becomes a point of ugly conflicts. And yes, this is the first thing that might ruin your vacation if you don't plan it accordingly. You don't have many options though. You could either wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the beach in hopes to get yourself a long chair in the shades, and if you do, stay there all the time, or, please don't do this, inconsiderately reserve the spot in violation of the resort's policy. Or, I hate to say it, pay the lifeguard to keep a spot for you every day, which is not much different than option 2. Now there is a third option that would not compromise your integrity and decent behavior, and this is to buy yourself a proper size parasol or a compact beach tent from Walmart and pack it in your luggage. Plus, you'll get to look quite smart and well prepared to your sun-scorched fellow travelers. In all cases, this is one of the major downsides of this resort that demands attention. Let's now move to the pools. The resort has 5 pools. 2 really long ones near the residential areas, 1 main or a party pool, 1 adults-only pool, and a teeny-weeny babies pool as well. Now the good news here is that all of them combined are large enough to accommodate adequately all the people vacationing at the resort. The bad news is, shade is always of short supply. I would in all honesty avoid the main pool, as this place is always noisy and full of people, some of which show symptoms of alcohol overconsumption, but this is just my personal opinion. Furthermore, the main pool seems to be the smallest and the most crowded of all, so if you like to spend some relaxing time, you'd opt for the pools at the periphery of the resort. Each pool has a small poolside bar with slightly limited, but in most cases sufficiently adequate inventory of drinks. Let's say a few words about the rooms. Playa Cayo Santa Maria is a relatively new resort, and this is quite important, as in my observations, Cubans have become really good at building new resorts, but still need to learn a thing or two about maintaining them as they age. Rooms are nice, clean, and well designed. Bathrooms are spacious, so here we have nothing but good comments. You might nevertheless encounter some small, absolutely non-life-threatening maintenance issues, like not properly sealed sink that might occasionally drip on the bathroom floor when you use it, but nothing major or really annoying, so we predict that most of you will feel pretty comfortable in your hotel room. And now, depending on your national or personal worldview, comes arguably the most important section of this review: food and drinks. The main restaurant buffet is large enough and stocked well enough so that you wouldn't worry when exactly to go in order to have better access to whatever you like to eat or wherever you like to sit. I said that the buffet is well stocked, and I need to elaborate on that. Indeed, it is well stocked with already prepared food. If you, however, want to have your meal cooked in front of you, well, you're up for an unpleasant surprise. The cooking stations are very few, and the lineups are humiliatingly huge. So you would have to make a choice: sacrifice dignity for food, or honorably dine on the already cooked food provided by the buffet. Mind you, there is sufficient choice and abundance there, so this, at least in our mind, is not a problem, just a limitation. In terms of taste, well, the food is good, but don't get prepared for any high-class culinary experiences. Let's just say Chef Skinner would be happy with the taste, but Anton Ego would not be thrilled. If there was one negative thing I had to share here, it would be the cleanliness of the tables. Of course, before every meal, the tablecloths are changed and everything is cleaned. However, by the end of lunch or dinner time, those same tablecloths tend to accumulate traces of food, small stains, etc. And that was a bit unpleasant and provoked us to actually go early for each meal, when everything was still clean and nice. Of course, cleanliness and hygiene is a two-way street. I suppose tourists could also have been slightly more careful when spilling food and drinks. The bars, as mentioned, were usually cramped, and the personnel showed that they needed some seasoning. They were not as dynamic as in other resorts, and still had to brush up on their English, but hopefully this will change over time, as after all, I think this is a matter of experience. We mentioned the often crowded lobby bar. Now you can avoid it during the day and choose any of the 3 poolside bars. In the evenings, well, you run out of alternatives. If you travel with family and kids, and all you order are non-alcoholic cocktails and juice, this advice will be helpful. In terms of other services, you have a daily entertainment show in the evenings, preceded by a kids show. Activities are organized at the beach and by the main pool during the day as well. Internet access. It is limited to several PCs with prepared web access, which is rather slow. But then again, what a bliss it is when your teenage kid, for once, looks up and sees the surrounding world instead of her smartphone screen. If I have to conclude, Playa Cayo Santa Maria is overall a nice resort, built on one of the best locations in Cuba, which has the potential to deliver a great vacation experience. There are 2 real problems you might encounter and you need to get prepared for. Number 1. As we mentioned, completely inadequate lack of shade on the beach and sometimes at the pools. And 2. I regret to say the following comments, but I'm obliged to be honest with you and deliver all the facts. Number 2. It seemed that some of the problems were created by the tourists themselves. Lack of shade, for example, was tremendously aggravated by the hordes of tourists who considered that it was not unethical, or simply didn't give a crap, to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go, throw their towels on the long chairs under the shades, then go back to bed till early afternoon, sometimes even till late afternoon, and show up, let's say, by 2-3 p.m. to use the spot they didn't have the right to reserve in the first place, according to hotel policy, ensuring that half of the day, while they're sleeping or doing whatever inconsiderate people do between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m., that spot will be unoccupied, yet unavailable to anyone else. Furthermore, about 70% of the visitors seemed to carry everywhere they went phenomenally humongous mugs they had taken from home. They asked the bartenders to fill them up with beverages. Mind you, some of those mugs we saw could easily contain 2 or 3 liters of liquid. They were more like handheld barrels. Now this view alone could knock at least 1 star off a hotel's rating. I mean, it is just way too far from classy. Unfortunately, this was not just an aesthetical issue, but was also associated with some inappropriate behavioral consequences, and we witnessed interpersonal conflicts obviously stimulated by the lack of social inhibition caused by the content of these huge mugs. I'm not going to get into details. This might have been just an incidental occurrence, But let's just say, if what we saw happened in the United States, at least 2 tourists would have been tasered and then arrested. But as I said, really hope this was just an incidental occurrence that does not happen every day or every month for that matter. So in conclusion, Playa Cayo Santa Maria could be a great getaway, but you need to ensure what your priorities are and where do you place yourself in the spectrum of different type of tourists and their needs, so that you would feel comfortable and enjoy every second of your time at this beautiful tropical location.